if you guys are wondering what is going on in LCS, what is happening in LCS, we are about to go over absolutely everything. Let's start from the very beginning. Okay, we're gonna go all the way back. So the first thing is the NACL requirement for LCS organizations, it got like retracted. So the organizations, aka Cloud9, Golden Guardians, Dignitas, Evil Geniuses, Team Liquid Honda, those orgs are no longer required to have an NACL team. What is an NACL team? Think of the LCS pros as varsity and NACL is like junior varsity. The junior varsity team, the challenger team, it is no longer a requirement. So when the organizations learned that they do not need, or they are no longer required to have a NACL team, 7 out of 10 of the organizations in NA dropped their NACL team. So that means overnight, all of those players, they just get dropped out of a job. And it's not even like at the end of the season or anything. This is like mid-year, 2 weeks before the start of the season. That's why it's so crazy. I would understand if they did it at the end of the year, and so these players have a little bit of time to like get their ducks in a row, get their ducks in order to be ready to pay rent. Cause you already know, no shade to the players, you already know they're not cooking their own food. So like now they really got to start buying groceries because the teams aren't going to be providing their meals, etc. That's crazy. That's crazy. And also not being able to know in your mind like, oh, I'm halfway through the year, I still got a job for the next 6 months. Not being able to have that job security is crazy. What is this whole walkout? So the LCSPA, which is the LCS Player Association, called for a vote amongst the LCS pros. So the A team, so that's your Vulcan, that's your double lift. Those people were called in for a vote for a walkout in protest of the NACL requirement getting dropped. And it, quote unquote, overwhelmingly passed. So that means that all of the pro players are in agreement on Sunday, May 28th, that they are going to walk out of LCS, basically not play during the first game or the first day of LCS, and they are not going to play until certain requirements are met. Now, what are those requirements? The LCS Player Association put on Twitter a bunch of requirements. So these are the asks from the LCS Player Association that they're asking for Riot to meet so that the players will begin playing again. All of this has happened over the past couple of days. So what happened yesterday is the news came out that the show must go on. So Riot was enforcing the rule that like, no, all of these pro player organizations like FlyQuest, Cloud9, Dignitas, Golden Guardians, you guys still have to produce a roster. You guys still have to play or else you're gonna get fined. So these organizations were scrambling to find what you call scabs, or people to take these players' jobs for the time being. Why is this a problem? Riot dropped the challenger requirement for pro players. So if you were bronze, if you were silver, now I know these people weren't actually going to be bronze or silver, they might have been, but they dropped the requirement, the rank requirement for pro players, and basically anybody was going to be able to play because I think these orgs were scrambling to find anybody to play. It was also a problem because there's a lot of social pressure in this situation, because imagine it like this: Cloud9 drops their academy team, but the pro players, so Berserker, Imenez, Blabber, they're doing the walkout. So, well, I don't know if they're actually doing the walkout. I'm just using them as an example just for legality reasons. I'm not trying to get sued or anything. But that NACL team, that B team, Cloud9 is probably reaching out to those players again like, hey, I know we just fired y'all, but can y'all play real quick? That's horrible. Like, it just shows how they treat these players. Like, it feels, I was actually talking to a pro player about this. It feels like they're disposable. It feels like they're disposable, honestly. There's a lot of social pressure right now amongst the LCS community, because if you are one of those challenger players, if you are one of those scabs, it puts you in this like socially awkward position where once the strike is over, once the walkout is over, these players are probably not going to want to play with you, because if you take that position, if you fill in for that pro player who is walking out, you are completely negating the damage that they are trying to do to get these asks from Riot. The next thing that just happened, LCS is officially feeling the pressure. They're officially saying and acknowledging the walkout. There's been a lot of discussion over the past few days about North American Challenger League, NACL. That is the junior varsity, and the LCS players walkout. I know many of you have questions about where Riot stands, so I'd like to share thoughts as well as scheduling decision we've made for the goal of getting the positive outcome. So this is Riot acknowledging, like, okay, we see you, we hear you. Now let's hear about what they're gonna do about it. First and foremost, we support players. We also support teams, and we believe more than ever in LCS. The LCS has always been a flagship league for LOL esports, and we care deeply about it. We know that everyone in the ecosystem, from the players to the teams to Riot to everyone behind the scenes making each week possible, and so many others, all share the same goals for the LCS. We need an LCS that is thrilling to watch and showcases the highest levels of League of Legends play. We need a league that represents the pinnacle of North American competition, one that serves as an aspirational goal for the competitive players who want to build a career playing League of Legends with a clear path to the LCS. We need an esports league that will one day bring the Summoners Cup. Okay, so they're just talking about this is what they want to see in the future of LCS. Okay, got it. There's been a lot of talk about the current state of esports, including esports' long-term future. Over the last few months, we've been more focused than ever on meeting the team's needs for economic sustainability. So in terms of economic sustainability, some things that I didn't mention is LCS PA alleges LCS orgs received $3 million from Riot in 2023, and Riot still caved to let them pull out of the NACL. But basically all of these organizations are running at a net loss. I think there was a few that were in the positive. Part of the reasons they dropped their NACL team, their junior varsity team, is to not lose as much money, from my understanding. Transitioning from ineffective academy system to the new NACL model will be helped by this funding. We'll also work with LCS and NACL teams along with LCSPA to increase upward mobility opportunities for players to the LCS, which is the ultimate goal of the Tier 2 developmental league. To make sure we live up to this quality, we've promised to fans we're delaying the LCS season for 2 weeks. That is crazy, but hopefully that is enough time to sit down, talk with the LCS Player Association, get with these pro players, and really find a solution so that everybody can be happy and people can have some job security. Because holy moly, delaying beyond the 2-week window would make it nearly impossible to run a legitimate competition. And in that case, we would be prepared to cancel the entire LCS summer season. Carrying this forward, if the LCS summer season is canceled, this will also eliminate LCS teams qualifying for Worlds 2023. I want to be clear, that is not an outcome we'd want, but it's unfortunately the reality of ensuring we run a fair, competitive, global system. Sis, leave it alone. The LCS players should not be too worried about Worlds. They need to focus on their paycheck, okay? That's what they need to focus on. One thing, they need to tackle that one, and then they can worry about. Anyways, that is the full rundown on everything that is happening in LCS. We got 2 weeks, we've got 14 days, we've got a certain amount of hours until we find out.